All right, Eric Wobena here, the Baseball Blue Book. Excited to do today's podcast with Tim Neiman. All week we've been talking with coaches from the Northeast, and I think I'm saving the best for last. Tim has got quite the career, and he just rolled his eyes, and I'm sure he loves when people say that. But hey, Tim, welcome to the program, and why don't you go ahead and give us a few seconds of just introduction and a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Eric. I really appreciate Baseball Blue Book having me on. I'm excited to do so, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm in my 34th year at DeSales University. Guess I never dreamed I'd be there 34 years like any young coach. Aspire to do something else. I'd be there X amount of years going to bigger and better things. And somehow I ended up staying there for a long time. And I'm a better person for it, I think. So it's been quite the journey. When I first started, it was Allentown College, changed the name to DeSales University in the year 2000. And, it's just building the program from the beginning to the end. Previous to that, I was a pitching coach at Kutztown University for 3 years. And I was an American Legion baseball coach at Quakertown.
Okay.
Back in the heyday of American Legion baseball. Yeah. It was 1983 to 1988, so well before the travel circuit. And
yep.
It was pretty wholesome. It was pretty good. I would love to see those days come back.
I agree.
But where it all started, my dad was always into baseball, so it's been in my blood forever. And, it's been a long journey, but I still have some years left, I think. I don't know what else I would do. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm proud to be at DeSales with the players.
Well, that's great, and you just kind of alluded to what this podcast is all about. It's the journey, not really the destination, and we sometimes, and most of the time, don't know what our destination is, and as long as we focus on that journey, and it typically takes us in a good place. A lot of things. You had mentioned something about thought it was going to be something, maybe a stepping stone to something bigger and better. What made you believe and know that this is the bigger and better, and then the reasons why you stayed at DeSales as long as you have?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I have a definitive answer. I mean, I was 30 years old when I started, so again, young coach. I'm going to move on. I'm going to do whatever. But every couple of years, they seem to help reinvent, even reinvent things. So as of recently in 2019, we built a nice ballpark. It's a nice stadium, holds about 600 with lights. I mean, it's awesome.
Nice.
And before that, just keep adding things all the time. They leave me alone. I think there's something to be said for that. I think I'm a little bit equity over these last 3 decades, but they've left me alone over the course of time. And I don't know. We've always kind of taken a look at, even in my early days, wanted to be a Division I program, and we just happened to be at a Division III school. And that means how we act and how we travel and, the whole 9 yards, the culture of it all. And I think still to this day, we've sustained that. So, I think moving on, I might have got lost in a bigger shuffle somewhere. We have no football at DeSales, so kind of helps.
Yep.
But I think that part of the venture here, being kind of the big dog. I mean, our sports are good at DeSales. They really are.
Yeah.
Good basketball, volleyball. I mean, we do pretty well. But, no football makes a big difference. So we've got a lot of attention over the years and been to 9 NCAA tournaments, been to the college. Athletically.
Hey, Tim, could you start right there? You said you went to the World Series and then we cut out. So just start out with after the 9. Go ahead.
We were in 2003. We went to the College World Series, and I think we helped put DeSales University on the map at the time. And we would take spring trips to California and Arizona, currently in San Antonio. We've been at the Dominican Republic, so we've been kind of a flagship program, I guess. So, I mean, to answer the question, I think you get it out of things what you put into it.
Yeah.
And we're putting a lifetime of service into the school and the program. And I've gotten way more out of it than I think I put into it. And it's been a great place for my kids who played there. It's a great place for somebody else's kids. It's a safe place. And I just think is an awesome opportunity for a young man to grow up at. And we truly go about still to this day, try to be that Division I program look,
Yeah.
at the Division III university.
What? I was actually just going to bring up that point again. Well, expand just a bit on that. I think from a surface level, I think we all understand D1 attitude, D3 school. What does that specifically mean to you? And when you're talking attitude, what are you really trying to, teach these kids? And what does that mean?
Well, it starts between the lines. First of all, I got to have players. So I worked for a guy named Joe Consoli with the Pirates. I'm an associate scout and bird dog, if you will. But back in the late 80s, and I learned more baseball from that guy in 2 or 3 years than I probably did in a lifetime. And he really helped me project, which is a really tough.
Again, hold on, Tim. Still lost you. Hold on. I don't know if you can hear me. We lost you again, Tim. You're back.
Okay.
Okay. So you had you left off the Pirates scout. You learned more in 2 years than you ever have, and then right then.
Okay. Well, Joe Consoli was the man. He signed more major league guys than any scout that ever walked the face of the earth at the time. I don't know. That still may be in existence. I don't know. But I learned so much from him. And one of the things was, to me, after all the evaluation is done, find out what kind of a person he is, called makeup in the world of baseball. And I think I've done really, really well looking for players where their best days are ahead of them.
Yep.
That fringe Division I kid that's going to project, that maybe fell through the cracks. And we've been really, really lucky over the years to have great kids and great families. And that means a lot because that's the culture and the chemistry. I don't know how to coach chemistry. I know it when I see it.
Yep.
I can't wave a magic wand and say, oh, we've got chemistry. It's not the way it works. But it does start with good makeup and kids that want to sacrifice a little bit. And then, from that, it's the commitment in the class. It's the commitment in the weight room. I mean, serious baseball and most college levels is from the day they come till the day they leave, and then probably through the summer too.
Right.
So we've always tried to place kids in summer programs, and just the look. I had an assistant coach I interviewed a few years ago, and he was in our league, and here's Andre Butler, who runs Graveyard Mentality right now. Great guy. And he played for a school in our league, and he said every time you guys pulled up in the bus, we would say, we're playing a pro team today. I said, what does that mean? He goes, just the way you look and act. And said, you didn't care who was in the other dugout. Just went about your business. You didn't embarrass anybody. And afterward, you shook hands with respect. You know what? And that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I think I've tried to transfer that in our culture all the way down to the players and how they handle themselves, how they act, be respectful. I can't tell you how many hotels, airports, restaurants we've been in. Somebody inevitably would come up and say, I can't tell you how well behaved your kids are. Because after the games are done, you forget all that.
Yep.
But for a lifetime, you'll remember your friends you made and, all the relationships that you've gained from 4 years of baseball. And it's just a vehicle for their ultimate success.
Yep.
If baseball gets them an education, that's pretty good. And we've thrived on that, but we do tell them, well, we do have books here, by the way, we do have books. So you're going to have to make a little bit of effort. And we have really, really good students. DeSales is a great academic school and very challenging, but supportive. And I guess that's why I'm there for so darn long. It really is family. It really is a home.
Yeah, no, that's great. You would making a couple comments on what makes a professional, and it's the attitude and being, the way you dress, the way you present yourself. It's interesting that actually has to be something that is considered required, and how your team may look like different teams in the pro team. That probably has to do with a lot of the carryover. And we talk a lot. I've had such good coaches on in the last couple of weeks, and we talk about the blend of the old school versus the new school. And yesterday I talked to Phil Schallenberger, and he was talking about, because I said, well, how do you bring the new to the old? And he goes, it's a blend. It's a real balance and that's really the challenge, is because there's good in all. The question is really, what do you like most about today's environment, that new school, the new environment, and what are some of the biggest challenges that you also see in the blend? And because we're going through this transition. You're seeing a lot of young coaches coming in, and then guys that have been here for a long time. They've got to kind of blend these philosophies. What are your thoughts, Tim?
Yeah, that's interesting. What I like best about the game is never going to change.
Right.
It's always thought, people complain about stuff. It's not the game's fault. It's not baseball's fault. It's the people's fault
that
are around it that kind of mess it up once in a while. And I'm maybe, I guess, look at myself as old school as maybe you can get at this point in my life, but I'm not naive enough to know that, the kids are programmed data-wise, analytic-wise, and things that I've seen and from the old school scouting days, that I can see and hear and sense, that doesn't comprehend.
It doesn't fly, right?
Yeah, it doesn't connect. We had a really good player. We have a Repso hitting, and I could see the young man was around the ball and, hooking balls, foul left field line. I can see that. But until we showed him on the Rapsodo how the ball spun off his bat, it didn't register. Finally it registered his senior year, and he's a Mid-Atlantic, all-region player. So I think that, to me, the light went on. It's like, okay, they learn differently right now.
Yeah.
And they learn from not so much being told, but from what they see and believe. I think that's a challenge at times too.
Yep.
So I think simplifying the old school and blending some of the new stuff, I think the new stuff is an asset to helping them get better, but it does not replace, the ability to adjust in a ball game.
Yeah.
There's just so much that goes on in a game. I spoke at the ABCA virtual convention a couple of years ago because of COVID. So it was in front of a video and audience video group. And first thing I said, and we're talking about this subject right out of the block, and I said, wouldn't it have been awesome to have Kevin Cash, who was the manager of Tampa at the time, and Blake Snell was he was Sandy Koufax that night.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. But it would have been nice to have a bench guy like Don Zimmer or somebody next to Kevin Cash and say, hey, Skip, this isn't Blake Snell tonight, Sandy Koufax, and he's just carving up the Dodgers. But the analytics and the charts said take him out.
Yeah.
And they took him out. Dodgers dugout reacts, in relief, and they go on to win a ball game. Who knows how it would have happened, but that's how they did things all year.
Right.
And it's interesting to watch playoff baseball now because it's played a little differently right now.
It is.
There's still a little bit played a whole lot differently, and I love it, actually. I mean, it's the way the game should be played. But over, of course, 162 games, guys are, they're doing it for numbers. Numbers equate to dollar signs.
Yep.
In the playoffs, World Series, now we're doing it because we're baseball people and trying to win a championship. That's a great observation there, Coach. It's interesting because I've actually noticed that, right? It's like, hey, we're watching baseball again, but you know what? It's a 162 game season. They're trying to keep their bodies where they need it to be. They want to get there, so it's really, how do you get there in the most efficient way, I guess, if that's the right way to put it, so that we can now play the game the way it should be played. That's an interesting point. Pretty true, and it's the same like with the NBA. They do it, they time manage, and the NHL. So it's long season sports.
Yep.
I think there has to be some of that, but they're really, it's a little more selfish, I think, during those 162 games. They do what they have to do to get in the playoffs and whatever they need to do. But again, it's a fun to watch right now. It's great.
Oh, it's been great. Well, Verlander, he just was lights out again. I mean, I'll tell you what, watching him just calm the Yankees bats down, quite impressive. And he's been that way for so long. So it's I love it. I'm sorry.
We got a little help umpire-wise early on that kind of stabilized. And then the
Yeah.
Yankees just chased 17 strikeouts. Come
Yeah.
on. I always tell our kids, if I told you to go to the plate, so there's 27 outs in the game, and I say, look, I want you to strike out 17 times. They couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. They couldn't. You couldn't do it. But the Yankees did it last night. It's amazing.
That's hilarious. So we talked about the environment, and I think that was a really good blend. I've heard a couple of other coaches bring up the point of a lot of these analytics and the new technology. Really, what it's done is it's confirmed what we've known a lot. And you bring up a great point of the way kids are actually learning, because as someone that's been in the game a long time, you're like, hey, I could actually see why you're doing what you're doing. That doesn't mean anything to him because he's learned coming up on how to evaluate and figure out what he's doing by looking at the technology and looking at the data. And so you brought up that's eye-opening to me, because I always thought, well, heck, we already know this, but that has nothing to do with it. It's really how the kids are interpreting it and how they take it and turn it into success. So I thought that was a great point, and I just wanted to highlight that again before we move forward. So I appreciate that. What of all the things that you've done, Coach, what is the biggest success that you see? And I kind of want to preface that with, I'm not talking personal or on the field. It could be either one. Just at the end of the day, when you look at your life and you're like, you know what, this is what I look at as success. What would that be for you?
No, and the success of folks that know me know this is true of me. The success lies in what the players do beyond baseball at DeSales University.
Yeah.
I always tease them, I'm not going to be your Facebook friend while you're playing for me. Or hell, they don't even do that anymore. They're into stuff that I don't even know of. But I said, I'm going to friend you when you graduate, and you will be my friend because you may need me in your life during your lifetime.
Yeah.
And I always tell them, I'm here for you always. This comes in what they're doing, the officers, the business guy, whatever endeavor they've going into, that's where my joy comes from. And that's why I'm there, I think. And again, vehicles are a way to help them get to that certain point in their life. And I'm an oft-used reference even for kids that played for me, not kids anymore, 30 years ago. I still hear from them. And I love that. I mean, I want to know where they're working and, what were your kids? And, do you need me at all? I mean, that's the bottom line. We've won a lot of games in spite of me. We've lost a lot because of me. I don't pitch or play. I can mess it up a little bit, but the kids have won a lot, and they play. I just try to guide the ship. And, luckily we've been success. And I do think being successful on the field leads to success, confidence, accountability, responsibility off the field.
Yep.
And I think, they're doing good in class. They feel good about playing. They feel good about playing, feel good about, going to school. And I think that carries over into real lives. I really do.
Yep. And
I think baseball graduates are most hired athletes because they deal with adversity every day. Practice, it's hard.
Yep.
I always laugh and kid at our kids. We are indoors in Pennsylvania sometimes in January. The weather's not so hot. And we're practicing rundowns and, all those little things that the teams that are never indoors really do a whole lot. So we're pretty good at them coming out of the gym. And I said, look at, the chances of failure are pretty high. We may run 100 rundowns in 20 minutes and you're not going to get 100 right. So I always try to remember that in my mind. It's like, not trying to mess up, but the percentage is pretty high here because of how many times we're actually trying to run this. So they're built on failure. They're 3 for 10. Of course, you're a millionaire and maybe more than that these days in Major League Baseball.
Yeah.
7 times I tried to fix your car, or 7 times I pulled the wrong teeth, or 7 times whatever. No, I ain't doing those things anymore.
Yep.
So baseball you are, and you've handled adversity. So I love when they reach out to me. I love to see their successes. And, then their kids are starting to play and, they're starting to coach. What did I count the other day? We have 41 ex-players that are coaching somewhere else. Pretty awesome.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
And they always will reach out and, including my two sons. Nolan's the head coach at Manatee High School in Bradenton, Florida, and Doc is the head coach at Clarion University, Division II. So, but beyond all them, they still reach out. Coach, what do you think? How you doing this? Anything new base running? It makes me feel good. It fulfills me. We forget the
That's great.
losses. We'll remember some of it, but not most of them. I mean,
right.
But you remember the people. You remember the people. And how they've progressed and how they've helped me too. It's not a one-way street.
That is impressive. 41 coaches coming out of your teams. That's you could start your own leagues. You had to get rid of the NCAA.
Another topic for another podcast.
Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
I'll have thoughts.
That was a great segue because you talked about baseball players being really such a good hire because they understand adversity, and obviously successes in most cases and in most industries would be a failure at 3 out of 10. One of my favorite quotes out there is the Batman movie when Bruce gets picked up by his daddy. He says, why do we fall? And he said, so we can learn to pick ourselves up. And so that's kind of the challenge, the transition over here is what has been the time that you've fallen and you've learned that fall was really so that you could learn either to pick yourself up or to teach others to overcome that particular obstacle that you might have run into?
Yeah, that's a really good question too, and I have to think about that because we fall every day, at some point. We just had a very tragic accident a couple of years ago. I'm sorry, year and a half, and it just showed me how much everybody needs each other.
Yeah.
And it happened a week before a season, and I just said, look, you guys don't want to play. We lost an alum, lost a current player, and another current player was changed for letting he survive, but it was a car accident.
Wow.
I said, you guys can play if you want, or we can wait if you want, or we don't have to play at all.
Right.
And they all decided, hey, I think we should play, and that's what they would want to do. And I said, I think you're right, but whatever you want to do, I'll support you. So it's kind of more of a macro look at that.
Right.
I've had times in my life that, I just don't, I felt like I could have done better or whatever. I mean, one interesting thing for me, and I'll share, is I don't have a college degree. I am the exception to the rule. All right. So I was hired at Allentown College and was supposed to take some classes, which I did for a while. I'm proud to say I have 6 A's and a B, and pretty good. The B was in accounting from a guy that worked for Air Products. He was a CPA, and he made the mistake of saying, before the finals, whatever grade you got going in, you can't get anything lower. I'm like, outstanding. That's great. I'll take the B, right? I took the final, blah, blah, blah. And I came out, and he was standing in the hallway. He goes, hey, Coach, did you learn any accounting? I said, I did. I said, what I'm going to do is if I'm ever in a position to hire somebody, I'm going to hire a guy just like you. And he laughed and he cracked up. So, but what happened then, I was on my way, but I got pretty sick. Something called Still's disease, which was juvenile rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
It took a long time to recover, but baseball was the thing that helped me and motivated me, and have those goals and aspirations that kept going. So, it took a long time to recover, and I just never got back to school. So luckily, I've built enough equity, at DeSales. I don't think it's a problem anymore. And quite frankly, at age 63, okay, well, thanks.
They haven't given you a degree, an honorary degree yet?
I meant to plant that seed somewhere, but I kind of take it pretty well. You would never know. And sometimes, degrees are, there's some educated derelicts in the world. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And uneducated ones as well.
That's absolutely.
Can you communicate? Can you make a difference in somebody's life? Can you?
Yeah.
Those are kinds of things that are most meaningful.
I think the 34 years has been proof that I think you've figured it out, and I think that's good. I appreciate you sharing that with us, Coach. And a lot of times, it's one of those questions that I like to ask because because we are in the business of failure, and so there's always that time in everybody's life that was almost like, what is enough? When does failure become so great that we can't get up? And that's really that turning point and defining moment in a lot of people's lives. And when you felt like you couldn't and you were able to, and that's really what we're trying to strive for in life, right? It's being able to get up every time. This has been a lot of.
You got to get up.
Exactly, you got to get up, and I think part of the things you said was that surrounding yourself with people. And it's about the community and it's about those things. You've already shared a lot, Coach, about the program, and that's obviously because it's been such a long part of your life, and I appreciate you doing that. But if I was in high school and there's so many opportunities now, there's so many schools, it's been a big push of you don't necessarily need to go D1. There's opportunities everywhere. Why would a player, why should they put your school at least on a preferred school to take a look at? What do you see in the baseball side as well as the school itself?
Yeah, it's pretty important. I think we always tell kids and parents in this world of travel ball now, there's a lot of delusion. I think a lot of folks can do it well, and some don't do it very well. I think more than not. And I always tell parents and kids, don't evaluate by division, not in baseball.
Right.
You want to evaluate by division in football and basketball, pretty big difference. In baseball, not so much. There's a lot of, evaluate the program. What am I going to get out of it from a baseball standpoint? What do I want out of it from a baseball standpoint? We've had 15 kids play some sort of professional baseball. They all work for a living now, and that's a good thing. But we have, and so we've always got those fringe Division I players, with that project and had good makeup. It goes back to that.
Yep.
So I think trying to break up that delusion, that have you seen us play? Have you seen some of the really, really good Division III schools play? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And if you went and watched and didn't know, what division they were, and you just watch a game, it's like, wow, this is pretty good baseball. And I think kids have to go watch schools they're interested in, watch them practice, watch them play, and then make an honest assessment if they can.
Right.
Academically, I always tell folks, we're not an Ivy League school, but we're pretty good. And I always say we don't apologize for our education. I mean, our academics are terrific. We have so many good majors with an unbelievable career support system. And it's just a great place to go. And like me with, being their Facebook friend and seeing them forever and ever, it's the same with the school. The school stays connected.
Yeah.
It helps them with the career placement, internships and opportunities. And, the class, it's about 2,000 day students and 3,500 overall in the master's programs and stuff. So, 2,000 day students, a nice size school for us, for sure.
Yep.
So your class sizes are 30, 35, and you get some attention. You're not a number. Some kids like bigger schools, and that's okay. And I could go a real long time with this. I'm going to do quickly. And I tell parents too, it's got to be, to me, it's 5 fits in order. So the 1% of kids that are, draftable guys that go to the Power 5 schools, they don't need any of this. They're going to go play baseball and maybe get a degree, right? They want to play. The rest of the 99% should probably follow this. Academic fit first. What I want to be when I grow up. Now, most males have a difficulty doing that. They have a little trouble with that. But what am I interested in? Academic fit first. We had somebody years ago who wanted to be a fish cultures major. Can't do that. So, so you stop, go to the next school.
Yep.
Next thing's a social fit. Got my degree. Do I like the school? Do I like the food? Far enough away from home? Any of those things don't have to do with baseball. Next is a financial fit. Tough, right? So maybe there's 2 things we like. Family can't afford it. And we stop. Go to the next one on the list. Next is an athletic fit. how do I know the coach wants me? I emailed him 7 times and he didn't get back to me. Well, we try to answer, but it's hard. You get a ton of them.
Yep.
And I would say, look, I probably would have stopped after the second one and go to the next one. There's a lot of ways to skin that. Last one's an emotional fit. Or, to be honest with you, my son Harry started at shortstop and batted third since he's a sophomore in high school. And that's great. So did everybody else. On a good part, everybody. And there's 7% of high school kids play in college.
Right.
7%. And you're going to go out the street after the game and get dinner with Harry, and they'll say, Neiman doesn't know what he's doing. And Harry's going to nod because he's mom and dad.
Yep.
But deep down, Harry knows, there's probably a man at shortstop that's 21, 22, sometimes 23 now with COVID years.
Yep.
There's a man there. So Harry understands. But mom and dad, you got to be able to handle that emotionally.
Right. Yep.
If you go get a water cooler on Monday and say, there's schools for Harry, and Harry was 3 for 4 this weekend. Well, how'd the team do? Harry lost 14-4.
Yep.
Okay, is that what you want? That's fine.
Right.
But the better the program, the harder it is to break through.
Yep.
That being said, I don't ask for the birth certificate. No, I don't ask for the birth certificate. Nowhere on the lineup card does it say date of birth. So the best guys play, and it takes time.
Yeah.
But I think if folks keep those things in that order,
Yep.
I think it takes some of the anxiety away and hopefully make a good decision.
Well, and
you don't want to be in a trance.
Yeah, and you know what? That's exactly right, what you just said. You don't want to go, and then the next year you're in the transfer portal, and then you're doing this whole thing again. Because if you took a little bit more time up front and did it, and I really think that emotional side is actually a lot bigger of an issue as the other ones, right? It's what you think, it's what your expectations are, and it's the name recognition. There's a whole lot of things, but there are so many baseball programs that these kids have no idea who and where and what they are, right? It's only the programs that they hear. And a great example, and I always, I try not to do this, but as a perfect example, when the Blue Book is really just helping people kind of network and find the other opportunities, and really just a coach's directory for so many years. And I know you know that, but I had an intern one time a few years ago. He was a ball player, local school, probably it was I think a 5A school, so it was a big school. He was good. He started 2 of the years there. And I said, where are you going for school? Are you going to play? And he said, I don't think I'm going to play. And I said, why not? He goes, because I wasn't reached out to. And I said, well, who did you really look to go to? And he named these big schools. And I'm like, you're interning for me. There's 1,800 programs out there. And so we opened up the book and we said, let's do a radius, or, out of 100 miles from where you live, there was like 40 baseball programs. And we said, let's go ahead and send an email out to him. And then in a week, he had 5 responses, and he found a place to play, and he was thrilled. And I'm like, if you want to play ball, there's a place to play. There is a place. And I'm not saying that for everybody, but if you really put some of that self, you got to be self-driven. You got to know what to look for. You got to know what to say. And I just thought that was interesting because that doesn't happen all the time. It was a perfect example of what you're saying is you got to really look at these schools. It's not about just the name. It's about a lot of other things.
I truly believe there's a school for everybody. If you go through these steps and be a little patient, do some homework. The ultimate question I have for a lot of kids, and we had prospect camps and might have 40 kids there and maybe 2 could play for us. But I educate the parents in there, and I said, ultimately, you're going to have to ask your son, how important is baseball going to be? How important is it? Am I going to, these other 3 fits are great, got my major, love the school, we can afford it. And the rest of it doesn't work, but am I okay with that?
Yeah.
And some kids can be and should be okay with that.
Yeah.
But that's a major question that has to be answered as a family. How important is baseball going to be? Because you may make that baseball choice and absolutely didn't have my major, hated the school, we could barely afford it. Now what?
Right.
And I think those things need to fit together. And if the parents take their time to do that, I think they end up making, a good choice.
Yeah, no, those are that's some great advice. I think Coach Meckley on his podcast, he said you got to make sure that you like the food. And I think you made that comment. He goes, if you don't like the food, if you don't like the cafeteria, that's a big time. That's a big deal when you're grinding through college.
Part of it, that's that social fit, big time.
Yeah, his advice is when you're doing all these travel leagues, take a stop and just walk the campus. Just walk the campus. See if you just like, and it's a great point because there's rural schools and there's very urban schools and they have such a different feel. A lot of them are commuter schools versus on-campus schools. Those are things that people don't talk to kids about. You really don't know because all they have is a reference of what high school is like. And it's a big difference between the two.
We have 600 acres at DeSales.
Wow.
600. Well, we're 10 minutes from Allentown. We're 10 minutes from Bethlehem. We're an hour from Philadelphia, an hour and a half from New York City. But here sits this 600-acre oasis, right? But in 2 minutes, you're on, interstates going to wherever you want to be.
Yep.
And that's all part of that social fit. What do the kids do? Well, there's a lot to do, and I always say I'm still young enough to, I don't know if that's true anymore, but maybe smart enough still to, they'll figure it out, But it all goes into it, the food, and I think the culture always go back to that, and the kids always got to talk to the players on a team. They'll give it to you straight, They're going to give you the right answers and what's good, what's not so good. So I always trust recruits with my players, obviously.
That's good.
And they do a good job. And that's a big part of it too.
It is.
Big part.
Well, it's a big change in these kids' life, and so that's great. You were mentioning we're going to kind of jump back. We got all over the place here, and it's always the host's fault. But I loved where you went, so we just kind of went with it. You talked about the Legions, American Legion ball, and what it was like back then. I love hearing the difference because that was my transition right there. I played Legion ball. I played those things. And it's hard for people to understand the difference between what it was then and what it is today. What do you see as the advantages of today versus what it was, and then some of the disadvantages or the advantages of the way it was versus the way it is now?
It's so different, and travel ball has heard it, and I don't think American Legion has adapted over the years. I'm in the Pennsylvania Legion Hall of Fame, and I always talk to the director, and they used to run these all-star series. It's really, really good. But then they started allowing 19-year-olds, and I said, Skip, there's nobody here. I mean, you have kids that have graduated, and you have kids that are already in college. The college guys and the pro guys, there's nothing here.
Right.
So there was no adaptation. That was just specific to Pennsylvania. American Legion baseball in the 80s was unbelievable.
Yeah.
We had Boyertown Legion, which is famous nationwide, not far from us. And, it wouldn't be unusual to have 500-600 people at a game.
Yep.
So you're playing in this community, and especially if you win, not a front runners, but it's really community supported and playing with your teammates and stuff. So then there became the travel stuff, in which is exposure and all those kinds of things. So I think American Legion could have adapted in some way to answer those questions. Maybe there's a pause somewhere. Maybe there's a big tournament, something to do. Maybe just play league games during the week and still let them go play under exposure events on the weekends.
Right.
Have to manage it with people they're playing.
Yep.
Problem is there's a lot of selfishness out there that just doesn't, nobody's going to care. You won your 17U tournament at Timbuktu, and who cares?
Yeah.
It doesn't. But the community will remember, hey, they played in the state championship.
Right.
The community does remember that. And I don't know what happened. I just think they haven't been able to adapt. The 19-year-old thing didn't make any sense.
Right.
Our state went to wood bats, doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to use wood bats in college.
Right.
They're just not. So I don't know. I don't know that it can be rescued at this point.
Yeah.
There has to be some compromise, and the travel stuff's not going away.
No.
It's a billion-dollar business. It's crazy. And again, some do really, really well. I'm not totally down on travel baseball, I have a hard time going to a site where there's 60 teams, and I mean, it's just too much overload.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I go watch a player, and that's what the grad assistants are for, and the young guys. Go see what you see. Let me know, and we'll go from there. But it's widespread and it's booming. There's no doubt about it. But it's a little bit like the wild, wild west sometimes.
Yeah.
You know, American leagues are structured.
It,
You know, it's like rules are the same
right.
from here to California.
Yeah. No, you actually summed it up pretty well. You know, when I try to explain it to the younger generation, I think you said it, you nailed it. It was American Legion was really community, and it was in the same place. You know, you played some surrounding areas, but it was really the community group of people that were playing, and you got the community behind you. The travel ball. You know, travel ball was the positive, I think, of it is you elevate the level of talent in the travel, but you limit the number of people that can do that because of the cost. So there are some real, caveats between them both. And I don't know if one's better than the other. I think it's just a transition of time and what's happening in the whole, the economics of the game. Let's just put it that way, right? It's changed considerably.
I have a quick epiphany. Once in a while I get this, right? Well, I'm thinking, does American Legion serve himself better as almost like a summer collegiate operation?
Yeah.
So the kids you've had to graduate from high school, have to be a college player to play American Legion baseball.
Good.
Because they're not playing travel ball anymore, right?
Right.
They're not. So coming back, representing my community. Everybody's kind of on the same page. I don't know. You have to float that out there somewhere.
You know what? And especially with the reductions of the minor league system, right? So the summer leagues that's a booming industry right now, and it's really the Wild West. They're really trying to figure out beyond just the name recognition, which leagues are the best leagues, right? I mean, you've got the Cape, you've got the Cal, you've got a lot of these, even Alaska, a lot of these big time summer leagues, but they need more. And there could be a place for American Legion to kind of make a resurgence potentially. Hey, there you go, Coach. You and I, you want to do something on the side, right?
Why not? We just need soldiers.
Just needs, yeah. I could be the face. You'll be the face. I'll be the background of it. So, well, Coach, this has been a lot of fun. DeSales is I want to make sure to encourage everybody to check out the program. Coach Neiman's been around for a long time, knows what he's doing, winning program, great school. You would name a couple real quick. What are a couple of the main focuses of DeSales, or is it more of just a liberal arts school? What are really the focuses?
It's a liberal arts school. I mean, our business programs are outstanding.
Yep.
There's a 5-year MBA that's almost a no-brainer these days.
Yeah.
I encourage a lot of the business kids that are interested in marketing, management, accounting, whatever, that look, you ought to think about this because sometimes when you graduate, you never go back.
Right.
Very, very strong criminal justice program.
Okay.
Very strong.
Okay.
Homeland Security, same thing. You get a 5-year MBA. I'm not MBA. 5-year Masters of Criminal Justice. Very strong. But across the board, I mean, the arts, the theater, not that they play a lot of baseball, but the theater and the dance programs, if you're
that's great,
so inclined, are outstanding. We host the Pennsylvania Shakespeare Festival, and in the summertime, the school is very diverse. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
But that's the business programs of criminal justice and health services. We were ranked the #1 physician assistant program in the country.
That's great.
For several years, always in the top 5, and there's no divisions in that. It's just the program.
Yep.
Physical therapy and, hospital management, all those kinds of things, the health programs are surging and well known.
Absolutely.
So you can't go wrong.
Yeah.
You just can't go wrong.
Okay.
We don't do engineering. So if anybody's out there listening and wants to do engineering, we can get you there through like a math major in another school, but I wouldn't do that.
Okay.
Just.
I think no, that is fair. And Central PA, beautiful place. I actually lived in Pittsburgh for many years and made that drive on the Turnpike, PA Turnpike, right? I think that's just north of you, isn't it?
We are about an hour north. We're in eastern Pennsylvania, about an hour north of Philly, right near Allentown.
Yeah. Okay.
Allentown, DRIVE.
Okay.
really, really pretty.
That's great. Well, Coach, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you a little bit, and look forward to kind of following the program and continued our relationship. And if there's anything that we can do for you, I'd really appreciate it. And just shout out to Coach Meckley. He's done a great job of helping me line up some of these really good coaches. So
That man's awesome. He's a great guy. But I appreciate you having me on. You keep up the great work with Baseball Blue Book. It's an unbelievable reference, for anybody that's listening, and you got me to sign up on the app, Mr. Old School, like, okay, an app, what do I do? You figured it out. So, but there's so many ways to connect with people these days. And you're doing it, my friend, and I appreciate you having me on.
well, thank you, sir. And I look forward to seeing. I'll probably see you at the ABCA this year.
I'm not sure I'm making it this year. I've been there quite a bit, but
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see. Nashville, I might get in trouble.
You know what? I hear that from every coach, and then at the end of
I was there last.
yeah, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, "Well, we might as well go." And Nashville's a good location too.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So,
Unbelievable.
all right. Well, hey, sir, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Eric.